we have been discussing about theology for the past few weeks. Today we are going to start a new lesson from your notes, Theology Volume 3, in which we have discussed about angelology. Today we are going to start about anthropology. Anthropology or doctrine of man. The word anthropology is derived from two Greek words, namely anthropos and logi. Anthropology. Anthropos, which means man. Anthropology means man. Logi means study or science, that we have already discussed. So anthropology deals with doctrine of man, or what the Bible teaches about anthropology or about man. See, you may have studied or you might have heard the word anthropology in sociology also. In sociology, when you study anthropology, it studies about man's behavior, his cultural setup, so on. You may study. But here, we are not going to deal with the social aspect much, but we will deal the spiritual aspects, which includes how God created or how man came into existence, and what is his inner being or the constitution of man, and the condition of man before his sin. These are the things we are going to study in our anthropology. We don't deal much with the social aspect of society in respect to the subject of anthropology. So, to study anthropology according to our Christian theology, we will start with the origin of man or origin of man. Where did man came from? For these many centuries, from the very beginning, so many philosophers from different countries, different continents have sought to find the answer how man came into existence, or human being came into existence, or they tried to find the answer where did man came from. Not only philosophers, even the scientists have tried, and they have been trying to give a satisfactory answer to the existence of human being. So far, neither philosophy nor scientist has given us a proper answer. At the same time, theology, which someone feel is a part of philosophy, has given some answer. Some answer in the sense, every religion tries to give some answer to the question, where did man came from? But interestingly, the Bible, from Judean perspective, and even in the Christian perspective, gives us a solid answer or a clear answer that man was a created being, which means man was created by the God who created the entire universe or multiverse, whatever may be your choice. So we safely conclude from the Bible, man was a created being by God. In short, we say it's a creation theory. Creation theory was written by Moses. We believe, although Moses recorded the revelation of God, for our study we would say Moses propagated creation theory. Of course, the theory is derived or inspired by God. For our study, we would refer creation theory by Moses, because nowadays, apart from philosophies or philosophical approaches, there are many scientists, or at least a few scientists, claim that the world came into existence, including man, through the process of evolution, popularly known as evolution theory, propagated by Charles Darwin. However, those who believe, particularly Christians and Jewish religion, say that it is not evolution, but it is creation by which God created everything, whether we see or not, including human beings. So we strongly, while propagating the creation theory of Moses, we refute the evolution theory propagated by Charles Darwin and other so-called scientists. There are many refutations are proposed by creation theory propaganda supporters. You may read the books regarding creation theory so that you will be able to give right answers or fitting reply to those who believe in evolution theory. However, in our notes, you may have a few points which will help you to have some idea how to refute the evolution theory. In your notes, page number 11, that means Theology, volume 3, page number 11. You have a subtitle named Refutation of Evolution Theory. In that, first point says, let me read it for you. This theory is, first of all, unscientific because it fails to provide proper proofs for its claim. That means the very basic idea of modern science is it has to give solid proofs in order to verify and prove their points or their claims. That is the reason in your notes it says the very basic principle of science is that every finding or discoveries must be substantiated with adequate facts and proofs. Insofar as evolution theory, it failed to substantiate its claim with proofs hitherto. Charles Darwin, who first propagated this theory, later regretted for his false theory, which he could not prove. That means he propagated, he gave some kind of arguments in favor of his theory of evolution. However, he miserably failed to prove it. See, argument does not mean proving. Arguments may lead one to some kind of proofs. But what we mean here by proof is a refute. The proofs must be tested each and every time in the laboratory by our visible eyes. That's what scientists claim. Whenever they say science means, it gives proper proofs. The same science fails to give solid proofs for their claim of evolution theory. Today, volumes of books are written in favor of evolution theory, but if you carefully examine those books, they all have been written as a fictional stories. There is no proof, no scientific evidences, no scientific proofs which could be proved in the laboratory. That is the reason we often say the so-called scientists. I am not against any scientist. I highly respect the scientists. However, when we say the so-called scientists, those who propagate the evolution theory till date bring their arguments as a fictional stories or fabricated stories which their own science itself would not accept. So we also reject such theories which have no solid proofs. So that is one of the reasons we reject or refute the evolution theory. Then they used to say man came from monkey. It is the popular theory or popular notion propagated by Charles Darwin. However, it is also not proven till date. In your note, page number 11, the last para, let me read it for you. Since the propagandists of evolution theory failed to prove it, they later suggested that there is a missing link between the species of man and the ape. That means, between ape or monkey, between ape and monkey, there is a missing species or missing link. If you find it, they could establish that man came from some previous animal. It is also a hypocrisy of the so-called scientists who propagate evolution theory. See, some of their publications show pictures of a imaginated creature which they term as picture of missing link. These pictures are imaginative drawings, not photographs. See, although they bring or publish such is some kind of pictures or animals pictures, they are all purely imaginative figures, not a photo taken from a real animal. Hence, the missing link concept itself is imaginative theory. It has no proof at all. So we reject the missing link theory of evolution also. Then the third point in page number 12 is no animal blood can be injected into man's veins in order to save human life. This medical fact proves that man has no direct or indirect blood relation with any animal. Hence, we know man did not originate from any animal, neither ape or any other animal. The fourth point is we can see that there are many differences between constitution of man and animal, physically, mentally, morally, etc. That means there is a great gulf between the constitution of ape and man, or any animal to human being. For example, physically, man is an upright being while animals are on all fours. That means animals, they walk by 4 foot. Some ape or monkeys may walk a few feet by 2 legs. That is for a few minutes, not even minutes, sometimes often few seconds only. After, if they start walking by 2 foot, within few seconds they would again start walking by 4 foot. Even any animals, gorilla or what it may be. But man always walk upright. I mean full healthy man. So physically man is diametrically opposite to animal physical condition. Then mentally, man is intellect, but animals have only natural instinct. Then third, morally, man is only creature of God that has moral qualities, while animals are not moral beings. That means we have some kind of moral and ethical values. For example, we may not lie, or we should not lie. A standard that human beings expect. Whereas animals do not have such moral obligations. Then spiritually, man alone has been created with spiritual concept. He alone of all creatures can worship God. The highest beast has no God conscience. That means animal does not have God's conscience, which means they never think of going to a worship center or a church to worship God. So, by seeing all these things such as physical condition, mental condition, moral condition, and spiritual condition, we understand that man is completely different from human, any animal being of animal kingdom. Then fifth point that is useful for refuting evolution theory is in your note page number 12.5. According to evolution theory, new species evolve after some thousands of years. But the fact is contrary, because every year after years the existing things and beings continuously degenerate instead of evolve. That means what they say is every 1,000 years a new species is getting evolved. But if you study the animal kingdom, there are a lot of species are getting degenerate and dying, and we are unable to find many beings. For example, if at all there was dinosaurs, no dinosaurs nowadays found. Not only dinosaurs, there are many birds and animals which existed once is no more nowadays. And there are many species are under danger of dying in the sense non-existent. They are facing complete non-existence due to pollution or various reasons. Scientific reasons also there, some social reasons. No new species have evolved all these years. So for these reasons, not only these reasons, there are very many reasons. Many reasons are there to reject evolution theory. Since we reject evolution theory, which is unscientific, we believe creation theory. It is known as traditional Christian theory also, because traditionally Christian believe that man created everything including human beings. We take support for this view from the Bible. There are many passages in the Bible, especially first few chapters of Genesis and other parts both in the Old Testament as well as in the New Testament. We see many Bible verses written by the prophets of the Old Testament or by the teaching of Jesus Christ or through the writings of apostles. We Christians strongly believe the world came into existence and the man was created by the God who has revealed himself in the Bible, or the biblical God, the only true and living God, has created all things including man. If you read in your notes, page number 12, under creation theory, the last two paragraphs, let me read it for you. According to creation theory, man was created by God as the Bible teaches. God created man instantaneously. That means by saying a word, God created human beings. Genesis chapter 5, 1 to 5, Psalm 33, 6, verses 6 to 9, and even the Lord himself, Lord Jesus Christ himself, accepted the Genesis account of creation. Since the so-called scientists have miserably failed to prove their evolution theory, we reject evolution theory. More, our creation theory is right, undefeatable and plausible. Hence, we must believe creation theory according to the Bible. That means we Christians believe creation theory instead of evolution theory, which is unscientific. Then, scriptural teaching concerning the origin of man or the creation. Page number 13 in your notes. According to the whole counsel of God, Adam was brought into existence by creative and formative act of God. Let me read it once again for you, the sentence. According to the whole counsel of God, Adam was brought into existence by creative and formative act of God. That which means, according to plan of God, when He started to create human being, He created and He gave the form to man through His own action. Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 and 27. God through creative act created immaterial part, soul and spirit of man. That means not only created the outer nature or visible structure of our body, He also created the soul as well as the spirit in human being. God through the formative act made material part, that means our body. Hence Genesis chapter 1 explains creative act, while chapter 2 explains formative act of God. That means chapter 1 of Genesis focus on the creative act of God, whereas chapter 2 of Genesis explains how God gave a form to human beings. This is the significance of first two chapters of the Bible, or the first two chapters of the book of Genesis. And further, if you read your notes, para 2, in your notes, in page number 13, the Hebrew word bara is used in Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:27. Is a Hebrew word, bara. This speaks of creation out of nothing. That means, nothing means there is a theological term, ex nihilo. Ex nihilo means out of nothing. Nihilo means nothing. Ex means out of. Ex nihilo means out of nothing. That means there was only God who created everything that we see or we don't see out of nothing. There was no pre-existent things when He started creating the universe or the multiverse, because nowadays scientists, instead of saying universe, they started saying multiverse, because they imagine or they believe, it's a belief again, or they understand, whatever it may be. Each and every word is meaningful in this sentence, whether they believe or accept or propagate, whatever it may be. There could be many verses like this universe, so they call it multiverse. But what we say is, whether it is universe or multiverse, according to your own terminology, all those things were created by God and God alone. Bara, He created out of nothing. God created everything out of nothing. God used existing material to create the body. That means, after creating everything except man, He started creating man from the dust of the ground. So, when He created man, He used the pre-existed one. But before creating the multiverse or universe or the earth, He created them out of nothing, ex nihilo. And Adam was created with a mature intellect, which means Adam was not created as a baby or an infant. Everyone believes that God created Adam as a matured man, both physically, intellectually, morally, in every aspect. At least he was about The young man, age you can determine 18 or 25, 40, 30 or 15, whatever may be. But he was a full man on the very first day of his creation. See, we take 25 years, 30 years, 40 years to become a full man. But Adam, on the very first moment of his creation, he was a full man, or we can say physically matured, probably age similar to teenage or more than teenage, whatever maybe 21, 25. It is up to you, because Bible does not say his age. But only thing the Bible clearly says that Adam was created as man, not as baby or not, neither infant. When God first created Adam, he created Adam with potentials of all materials to make Eve. That means when he created Adam, he created him with all the essential things that is necessary in order to create Eve. Eve was created potentially in Adam and brought into an individual existence by special formative act of God. That means creative act and formative act we studied. From man, he brought out Eve through a special formative act. When Eve was taken out of Adam, there was no breathing of life into Eve, which was said only to Adam. This indicates both material and immaterial parts of Eve were taken from Adam. God created this pair so that the entire human race could descend from this pair by natural generation. That means every other human being, whether they were or they are or they will be, including us, they are from Adam. People may be in different religions now, but we have to understand all came from one pair of human being known as Adam and Eve. Then we'll study the nature of man. We have studied about origin of man. Now we'll go into nature of man. The nature of man refers to man's state of being before his fall. That means, fall means before his sin. We, from the Bible, understand Adam sinned and he sinned against God. That sinning is known as fall. So, we are going to study under nature of man how man was before his fall or before he sinned. Page number 13, last para, original image of man. That means how he was in his original state. God created man in his own image and likeness. The creation of man is distinguished from all other creations. God made each variety of plant life after its kind, but he created man in his image. This image and likeness are seen in several ways as following. For example, man's triune nature. For example, Bible teaches God exists in three persons. One God exists in three persons. We use many other words for telling this unity. Trinity, Triune, whatever may be the other, if there is any other equal terms without contradicting theological meaning, you can use it. Here's the Triune God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Genesis 1:26. Thus, man made in the image of God and likeness of God is a triune being consisting of a spirit, a soul, and a body. That means God is one with three persons, but we are one but with three special constituents like body, spirit, soul, which represent the three persons of God. There are other views, you will see many views regarding this, but basically you have to understand God is triune and we are representing in our body itself the Trinity of God. Only thing, here one person, there are three persons in Trinity. That you will understand as you go through. Then intellectual and moral nature of man. The image and likeness also refer to the intellectual and moral nature of man. Man is a rational being. This distinguishes man from animals, for they have instinct but not rationally. Man is also a moral being like God, but animals do not have moral values. Animals do not have moral values. But man, being created in the image of God, we have moral values. The physical nature of man. God had designed in his mind a body so that Christ could incarnate according to the design of that body. Hebrew chapter 10:5. God made man's body after the archetypal form that he had in his mind, the pattern that he himself had designed for his own corporeal and visible expression in Jesus Christ. The image of God was probably a garment of light. Therefore, the image of God includes soul, spirit, intellect, moral, garment of light, and body designed by God. That means, the question is like this: why God created man a body as we have today? The answer is from the light of Hebrew chapter 10:5 is like this, that God in his eternal plan had an idea that Christ would be born in this world. So, when Christ would be born in this world, how his body would be? So, he first designed how Jesus would be in this world. Then, the same appearance which Jesus will take in future was given to Adam when God created Adam. Adam was created with a physical body which Christ will take in the future. Then let us come to page number 14 in your notes. The original intellectual and moral conditions of man. Intellectually, man was not created as a savage but a higher being with a lofty mental powers. Adam was created with sufficient intellectual capacity to give names to all living creatures and to have dominion over all the earth. The evolution theory that man has developed from an originally low order to intellectual being resembling an ape is a figment of unbridled imagination falsely dubbed science. The very reverse is true to fact. That means the so-called evolution theorists propagate or says that not only man's human body is evolved, even the very intellectual capacity of human being getting evolved. It is a false statement because when God created man, He created man with a full intellectual capacity. That was the reason Adam was able to give names to all animals which was brought before him by God. His intellectual was not getting evolved day by day. The very first day he was able to name them. The very first day he was able to realize his condition. The very first day he was able to realize the spiritual condition of his life. The very first day he was able to understand the need of his fellow human being of Eve. So man was intellectually not evolving from the very first day, but he was created with full endowment of his intellectual faculty. Finally, man was created sinless and innocent on the very first day of creation. He has no sin at all in him. He possessed no knowledge of evil on the day of creation. Brought into existence for the glory of God, the first parents of human race were established in Adam. That means man was created for God's glory. Unfortunately, the man, due to his sin, lost his glory. That's what we read it in Romans chapter 3:23. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Then we will deal with the constitution of man or man's constitution. When we say constitution of man, which is body, soul, spirit. Regarding body and soul, spirit, there are two major views. The first one is dichotomy. Dichotomy means man is constituted by only two nature. That means physical nature as well as spiritual nature. In the spiritual nature, it includes both body and soul. That means whether soul and spirit. In the spiritual nature, it deals with the soul and spirit. So according to dichotomy, man has body, physical body, and man has a spiritual nature which includes spirit as well as soul. So they say whether you say soul or spirit, both are the same. That's what dichotomy says. That means soul and spirit are one, are considered one, and the body. So di means two. So dichotomy. But the second view is trichotomy. Tri means three. Trichotomy. Trichotomy. In your note, it is in page number 15. In trichotomy, what they believe, man is a constituent of three natures or three constituents, which are first body, that means our human physical body. Second one is soul. Third one is spirit. In trichotomy, soul is separate from spirit. Whereas in dichotomy, both soul and spirit are the same according to their theory. Whereas according to trichotomy, since it says three, It is naturally, first one denotes the body, second one denotes the spirit, third one denotes the soul. So three. So three in one. So in our body, we have spirit, we have soul. So we are a trichotomical being. We are constituted by three. And these are the two major theories, dichotomy and trichotomy. But there is another view also, some say, that is multifaceted view. That is not given in your note. In the multifaceted view, what they say is, man is not only having body, soul, spirit, the strength, that all can be considered as a different constituents, so that man is a multifaceted constituents. So many do not go to that view. Most popular views are dichotomy and trichotomy, in which majority evangelical theologians believe trichotomy. That means body, soul, spirit. Because 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:23 says, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless. And not only that, in Hebrew chapter verse 4 and 16, I think so, there it clearly distinguishes between soul and spirit. So, having considered all these texts, we safely come to a conclusion. Trichotomy may be the most correct view, because there are scriptures very clearly distinguish three. Particularly 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:23. Now the question is, there are some people ask about the body. The chemical analysis proves man's source. That means modern analysis detects in the body the same elements that are in the earth. Such chemical elements as sodium, carbon, iron, water, air, heat, and the like. That means if we analyze our body, almost all the minerals that are in the earth, the heat, the water, the air, everything we have in our body. That means our body is taken from the dust of the ground. As when the day God created, He took our body, the material for our body, from the dust of the ground. Not only that, the earth sustains man's existence. That means our body is sustained by the things that are taken from the ground. In your note, page 15, under body, the second subtitle, earth sustains man's existence. The body is sustained by that which grows out of the earth. It is man's body and not his spirit that is sustained. Famine is our days has proved that if vegetation is taken away, life is taken away. This proves that man is made from the earth. That means not only the chemical components in our body proves that we are taken from earth, we need products, vegetables, whatever may be, that are taken from the earth only will help us to live long. Then the fourth one, the third one, that our body is taken from earth is the death substantiates man's elements. That means at death, corruption sets in and man's body soon returns to the dust from which it was formed. That means when God created man, He took dust from the ground and created. The same way, when man dies, our body decay and again turn into the dust. This all prove that man's body was taken from the earth. Then the soul. Genesis chapter 2:7 says, the Lord God formed man from the dust of ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So God created soul into human being. And then spirit. Spirit is the one that distinguishes all other creatures from man. That means many Christian theologians believe the animals do not have a spirit conscience, which is more associated with the Spirit of God. That is the reason it says, continue in notes, page number 16, under the title of Spirit. Animals and other living things do not have spirits. The body without spirit is dead. That means human body here. When a man dies, the soul departs with the spirit of man. The soul and spirit can be separated. That is what Hebrew chapter 4:12 says. I think previously I said Hebrew chapter 4:16. I'm sorry. Please correct it. Hebrew chapter 4:12. However, there is no scriptural proof that they are ever separated. When the rich man died, he went into Hades with body, soul, and spirit. The spirit of man is the seat of his intelligence. Animals do not have intelligence. Intelligence in the sense, as we study, read, and such kind of intelligence, the animals do not have. Child gets its spirit through its parent at the time of conception, when it gets its soul. That means some people may ask us a question: when the spirit is put into a body of a child, that means it is not a body of a child. When the conception takes place, the very moment the soul and spirit is formed into it. Not only body. You might have seen in the animated things of how the conception is taken place. The very moment conception takes place, at the same moment both soul and spirit is formed. It is already in Adam. God made Adam with such a quality that he could procreate his offspring in his likeness of having body, soul, and spirit. Then we'll come to the man's condition before fall. So far we have studied how God created origin of man, nature of man, and in which the condition of man before fall. Now man's condition after fall. Man's condition after fall is, it is very well known that he is a sinner. On the very first day of creation, God created them, both male and female. They lived a satisfied life by having fellowship with God. God gave a few responsibilities to Adam. He has to guard the garden from the possible appearance and attacks of the devil. They have to replenish the earth. They have to abstain from eating of the forbidden fruit. here we have to understand, we do not know what is the fruit which was forbidden. In the pictures and the cinemas, they may show fruit like apple or whatever may be, but Bible does not say which fruit was that. Neither we could imagine nowadays what fruit it was. Certainly it was a fruit which was used by God to test him, but nothing was wrong in the fruit. Neither it was poisonous, but only thing, God used that fruit to test him. Unfortunately, man failed to obey and he ate that forbidden fruit and he became a sinner. In summary, man's nature before fall, we could summarize in this way. Man was spiritually innocent. He was good morally and had sound knowledge intellectually. He was guiltless in body, spirit and soul. Whole of his being was without spot before his fall. But after his fall, he lost every God-given qualities. Lost in the sense they could not function as God wanted to be. That is the reason Romans chapter 3:23 says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So man, due to his sin and disobedience, and by eating the forbidden fruit, man became a sinner. Not only sinner, every human being born of Adam was a sinner and is a sinner and will be a sinner unless and until he receive the Savior. So we'll stop here and we'll continue our lesson in our next class.